Hello, everybody. Andy here and Andy there, actually. This is a conversation with an investor, somebody in our group. We wanted to do this call. We talked back and forth about doing a call, answering questions, and just seeing as an investor where he is, and maybe that's where you are, and just going to try to clear anything up. Andrew, I guess I'll start by saying that I didn't know you prior to this, but since you became a member, I've met you in person, and we've talked a couple of times, but nothing really in depth. But welcome to the call. And
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate the invite and being on. Like Andy said, um, I'm just an average investor, like everybody else is probably watching the video, um, and I believe in this investment. And I don't. I was going to tell you, Andy, that I don't know how some of y'all have done this, being in this for like 10 years. I've only been in it about a year, maybe a little less, but it's kind of a roller coaster investment. So
yeah,
my mindset has just been to look at this as like a long term investment that I think will pay off big versus hanging on to everything because it's just like in December. I thought for sure by like early December, I thought for sure this investment was going to hit before Christmas. That was kind of what all the news was saying. And then we got the devaluation, and then it's kind of like, oh, it's just a big letdown, and you just so I don't know how many of those y'all have probably been on over the years, but so you just you can't you can't hold on to this if something's going to happen tomorrow. You just got to wait and see. But it is going to happen. I truly believe that. Is that how you feel about it?
oh yeah, without a doubt. And the roller coaster, yeah, I just shut everything down probably after I'd been in it about 2 years. And I had several people that would constantly ask me, "What have you heard?" And I said, "I don't hear anything anymore." But I just couldn't handle that. I said, we're not going to know
Yeah.
anything anyway, no matter what they say is going to happen until it actually happens. So, yeah, back then
Right.
it was daily, weekly, it was constantly, there were just a bunch of con guys in the game, and they were just doing it to get hits, or I don't know what they were doing it for, but just to make themselves feel more powerful. I don't have to see why people made all that stuff up. The difference then and now is actually seeing Parliament at work, seeing the CBI, the actual news articles that are coming out talking about exchange rates, and they did go backwards, but they got to go backwards a step forward.
Right.
I know there's a lot of prophecy people out there talking about March, so
Right.
didn't want them to
Well, I mean,
think
I
they
think
were right.
I can. Yeah. I you know um, I try to Mama, I try to have a level head about it and be like, all right, where I start from is like you said. There's there's a prime minister in place. There's a parliament in place. They haven't even been in place. My understanding is less than a year, right? They're just getting the country back and being organized again. But it has to. If you just go back in time, countries that have been in war, once they come out of that, if they start bringing their country back and doing the things that Iraq's going to be doing, reinvesting in their country, building the infrastructure back, inviting business back, getting all those things done, you have to think the currency is going to go along with it. But then the scary part would be like, I want to get political, but things go back to where they were before, and Iran's being crazy with Iraq, and ISIS comes back and all that. Well, then you can probably put this investment aside for a while. But I don't think it's happening. If you look at all the news with everything with all the agreements they're signing and everything that they're doing as a country, I think even Saudi Arabia is working with them now. There's just all those countries. It looks to me like they're poised to really grow, and that's why I think I don't know. all the speculation about the revaluation and the reinstitution, I do think that's going to happen. But even if it doesn't happen, and I know that's what everybody wants, but even if it doesn't, if Iraq follows through with their projects and their growth, the stock market is gonna grow with that. Our investment is gonna grow. We are going to see value in what we've invested in, even if it doesn't happen the way we think it will. And I think it's gonna revalue, it's gonna or reinstitute. I was nervous about this devaluation, but as you do look through some of the articles, I was thinking, all right, how they're gonna get, you're hearing that they're wanting the mattress money, I guess is what they're calling it. They're wanting to get those larger notes out of the system. And, and I was like, all right, I mean, that could be real. It could not be real. But then you start seeing articles about the banks, and they're doing everything they can to get people back into the banks and become customers again. I read one article where they're offering like 7% interest, on your accounts, and all kinds of other sweeteners. And I thought, all right, if that's what they're doing, then they probably are really trying to get the mattress money back into the banks. And that sort of, in my mind, maybe validated the fact that they're really trying. That is one of the tactics, that they're trying to get those large denomination notes back in, so that they can, I guess, revalue, reinstitute, whatever they're going to do. And then my understanding is they already have the lower denomination notes. I guess is that something that you've heard as well, that they've got the smaller denomination notes in the system?
Right. I have heard that. I haven't seen any actual proof of it, but that's what they're saying. And I really believe that what I thought years ago, when everybody was talking about what the rate was going to be and comparing to Saddam's era, I would think, well, nobody's ever shown how many notes there were under Saddam, what the total value of the dinar outstanding was. And here they go printing new money. I mean, they know. We just don't have privy to
Right.
that information. So, what if they printed double? Then how could they justify going back to that rate when it would make the value less? So I was
Right.
thinking, well, okay, at some point they've got to even it up at least, or get it within the parameters of the differences in their reserves, gold reserves, their foreign reserves, and everything else, the total value of their country. So they've got to get whatever dinar they overprinted off the market. And I always thought once they hit that mark, then they had to go ahead and the green light to do whatever they need to do.
Right.
I still think that may play a big part in it. Why the need to get the triple O notes off the streets? What real difference would it make in determining whether or not they revalue? If I got a 25K note versus a $5 notes that equal 25,000, what's the difference? So I don't know why they're trying to get what importance the reason.
Right. Maybe it's I mean, I know there's not one correct answer, but maybe it's maybe it's not necessarily as much the 000 notes as it is getting people functioning back into the banking system again, getting people to trust the banks. Because my understanding is, if I'm an Iraqi Joe working and it's payday, I'm cashing my check. I'm not putting it back into the bank, because nobody trusts the bank. And I can understand why they wouldn't,
Yeah.
after, all of the wars and all that. But, if my understanding is, if the banking system is automating itself again, and they're going to be electronic and debit cards and all those things, they're coming up to speed to 2000 at least, 20, then, maybe it's just getting them back into the mode of using banks, because I would think that they would need people to start being in the banks again to you can't have everybody just cashing their checks and not being in the system, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Maybe that's part of it, Andy. I don't really know, because I agree. What is the difference? If you're going to reinstate the dinar and your money's going to be worth more, you would think that they would go back and, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
I know several months ago, one of Pimpy's videos, he showed a an economic study that was done on Iraq and broke everything down, and the actual value of the dinar at that time, I think it was 2017, and these economists that put this study together showed that the value of the Iraqi dinar, I want to say, was $1.71, and that's when people say $3 or three and a quarter, 3.50. Thinking if that's true and it's really fine, and they want to make it worth what it's actually worth, is it going to still be 171? Have they gotten more resources with all those same figures built in? Is it going to be worth more than $1.71 or less than? And I think for me, that's a good standard to go by. Just 3.5
Yeah,
later.
yeah, yeah. I agree. And honest, I mean, when you're speculating about the rate and stuff, my mind keeps going to, okay, they devalued the dinar, and supposedly it's working, and people are trading in their dinar for dollars. Okay, so if let's assume that Iraq wants to get to a basket of, they want to be put into a basket of currencies, and let's assume it's going to eventually be $3 or 3.40 or whatever. So they've gotten everybody to trade in their dinars for dollars for now. And then now, okay, they've accomplished that. So in my mind, they'd be like, all right, we've got all these dinars floating around outside of Iraq. And, let's say they come in at $1. And I mean, I'd be happy if they come in at $1.
I would too.
I'm going to trade mine in. People may hold out for the three, but if their mindset is, we know it's going to go to three or higher, but they come out at $1, they still get a big win from us, because we trade in our dollars. Eventually, it goes back to their central bank. They're holding all those dinars that they got for $1. When it does go to three, well, they just made a 66% return on their money. So I think it's, I think, they could come out at less to test us, right? Who's going to turn in their dinar if it comes out at 50 cents? But, it probably will be $1 or somewhere around there to entice people to go ahead and trade their dinar in. Like I said, I'll be super happy. It'll be happy for us. Those of us who have blocks, who knows, though, I'm going to ask you some stock questions, but whether it's 50 cents, $1, I mean, hopefully it's $1, then I'll be trading mine in, my actual dinar I have. And then from there, to me, the stocks or the blocks is going to be my mailbox money. I mean, that's going to be something that's going to pay out, long term. I will back up and say I probably will go ahead and get the trust as soon as the dinar revalues. I probably will go ahead and immediately get set up with Arnold or the gentleman that was on the call the other night. That was a great call. It was really informative. But I kind of think that they will come out at a rate. They're going to do something to try to get us to turn our dinars in. If that's what they did inside Iraq, then I would think they're probably going to do something outside of Iraq to. They're not going to come out at $3, is my opinion, like some of the others have said, because why do that when they can get everybody to turn it in for less? And if they know it's going to go to three, right? They can make money on that. Maybe that's the wrong way of thinking, but it's kind of my thoughts.
Yeah, I see it also, and there's a lot of discussion how things could easily change if Biden takes over the office, which is still debatable. But I think they're too far along to stop whatever this is that they're doing.
I agree with that too, George. I agree. I don't think, the train's already on the track, so to speak. They're already on the highway. I mean, they've already moved on down the road, and common sense says to me too that, they just got their government formed. Why would they want to go back to the way they were? You know what I mean? Why would they want to stay in the place that they are today? I mean, they want to move forward as a country, and I think there's probably a lot of proud Iraqis out there that want their country back, and want to get to some sort of sense of normalness, instead of being in the condition they're in. So I really think the future is bright for Iraq. I think that everything you read about what they're doing and all the memorandums of understandings they have with other countries and projects that they want to do and infrastructure things, and their borders seem to be under control, and they've got big plans for their ports and all that kind of stuff. Kind of says the future's bright for Iraq, and that's why I feel really good about the investment. How they're going to do the dinar and the revaluation or reinstitution, who knows? But at some point in time, our investment's going to cash in. That's how I feel about it.
Do you have any questions or concerns as far as being an investor in Woolard Enterprises?
No, not at all. I mean, I think I told you personally through email. I mean, I feel very comfortable with you holding my investment, and I don't. I've been one of those people like everybody. They've been scammed before, and that was one of the reasons why I wanted to at least shake your hand that day. And I feel very comfortable, Andy. I told my wife I feel comfortable. I know I mean, you've made it very evident. You're going to do the right thing with other people's money. You've been extremely transparent. You're doing everything that you can to, make sure that you're walking a straight line with all this stuff. And I personally appreciate that. It's not even a thought about, is my money safe? I don't even think about that, which is, I don't have the, before I was lingering a little bit, with all the pie in the sky stuff, that was being discussed. I don't want to say anything negative, but it was, some of that was in one ear and out the other. I personally wasn't planning on doing too much investment out inside of Iraq with projects. Now I may change my mind, but I can't imagine what it takes to start a company over there. You got to have people there that you trust. I mean, never been there before. I don't know what kind of, how honest it is over there and starting a company. And, I own my own company. I've owned, partners in other companies. And I mean, it's hard. It's hard work getting a company off the ground and turning a profit. And I just can't imagine what it would be like to do that over there. Not saying it can't be done successfully. I know it can be done successfully over there, but I would want to see some other things happen first before I would maybe dip my toe in. That's just me personally. And there's plenty of opportunities over here. I mean, there's plenty of things you can invest your money in. I mean, there's several things I'd like to do if I had the cash right now. But to answer your question is no, I feel very comfortable, Andy, with you and with Woolard and where we're headed and what we're doing. I'm more thinking about, when's this thing going to kick off, and
Right.
That kind of leads me into some of the stock market questions I had, which is, I don't know, we've probably been on for a little bit, but what, when you send over, I go to the Woolard side all the time and look at the postings, of the stocks. And then, I also, I don't have it. There's a website where you can actually go and look at the, trades for the day.
Right.
Something ISX or whatever.
ISX-IQ dot.
Yeah.
I think. And
And
just
you
can
can
Google Iraq Stock Exchange and find it.
right, exactly. and you can see what the stocks are doing. Before I found that, I was going back to all of your postings and seeing, okay, this is, what we paid at the time, and this is where it is today. And, there's not a lot of what you call, and I'm not a stock market expert. I mean, I play around in the stocks and I like to do that, but no, by no means a trader or an expert in the stock market. But I know there's not, like right now, there's not a lot of what do you call it? Not volatility, but liquidity in the markets over there. There's not a lot of, not huge liquidity, like tons of buyers. So it seems like a lot of the stocks stay pretty steady. They don't move too far up or too far down. And I haven't looked at all of them, the history of all of them, but it seems like there's not a ton of, liquidity or volatility in the markets over there. And I'm wondering, I've been wondering, like, when the dinar does revalue or reinstitute, what's your opinion on how that's going to affect the stock market? And then I kind of had a specific question I'll ask after this, and I don't want to drag it on, but what do you think about how, if they reinstituted to $1 today, what is that going to do to the market? Because, like, take Bank of Baghdad, for example, or Bank of Baghdad. Let's just say, we've got 500 million. Sounds crazy to say 500 million shares, but we got. Let's say we paid 50 cents for it. Is that 50? That's 50 dinar cents, right? So it's not 50 cents American, right?
Right. All the prices that we're showing, like right now, it's 0.413 dinar. So
that would be like 0.41, right? In dollar, in American currency.
Yeah. I mean, if you,
just for example's sake,
you had 11. Well, I guess 1460 now dinar to the dollar. So how many at 0.413 would it take to get to 1400?
I don't even know how to do the math on that.
I can try to do it right quick. So if it's 1460, I don't know what the exact rate is that stock market is actually using. But if you divide that by 0.413, and I gotta move your, okay, 35,000 per dollar.
Yeah. So
if the market changes or the rate changes, and now it's dollar for dollar, then that would be worth 41 cents of our dollars. If it was dollar for dollar.
And
so
that's where my
35,000 shares is now worth, for that we paid $1, is now worth $17,500 at even.
Right. And so my question is, and I don't know how to answer this, or maybe I might be, hopefully I can ask it right, because I've been, what does that do? Let's say we're talking about the Bank of Baghdad again. What does that do to the value of their company? Does it now, if the dinar revalues and it's now worth, 50 cents or 41 cents of American dollars, does that make the value of their company quadruple overnight? And if so, is the ISX going to allow that? You know what I mean? Or are they going to decide to say, okay, we can't make this company, the company's not really valued at this anymore, so let's do stock splits, lower the entry to get in and do stock splits? Or, because I would love it if they just say, hey, it's 49 cents and now ours is worth 17,000 a block. I mean, I think it's positive no matter what happens. And my question, I think we're going to make out no matter what. So I don't want to be negative in that, but I keep thinking that, when I play around with the stock market, I like, gold miner stocks and stuff like that. That's what I play around in. But I mean, they look at, what's the valuation of the company and what's in the ground and who's the management and blah, blah, blah. And they come up with a value of of a company in America. Over there, what are they going to do? I mean, are they going to say, all right, it's 49 cents and now woohoo? I mean, we really make out. Well, I think we'd make out anyways, because if they do the fair thing, they would at least do the stock splits and lower the amount, but we still come out good. Does that make sense?
It does, and it, our stock market doesn't even go by the actual numbers. It's our market is driven by emotion.
I agree.
They could say Elon Musk broke his leg and Tesla could fall 100 points tomorrow, even though
And
he's not
that's
supposed to be part of their management. But it's just the
right.
idea in somebody's head. Oh, we better sell because something could happen to him, and you know, people panic and would sell off and cause that to just drop like a rock. Saying that, take Asia Cell. They have 310 billion shares.
Wow.
They're worth $1. If it's dollar for dollar, and they're at 7.5 dinar now, they would be worth 750. So they're worth over $1 trillion. They're bigger
Right.
than Disney. So I don't know how this adjustment is actually going to take place. I feel like there almost has to be a reverse split of some sort, but the value is still going to be there.
Exactly. The value will be there. That's why I do kind of like the fact that we're adding to our share count and everything, because if they do, like you said, a reverse split, or we're going to make out as Woolard, being involved in Woolard. Uh, we're going to make out either way, but there is going, in my mind, they're not going to value it as $1 trillion company. But you made a great point. Look at Elon Musk and in his car company. I mean, they're talking about that being one of the most overvalued stocks, but it continues to go up. So I don't. I'm just curious. I've been curious what's going to happen. And then think about this. And I was going to ask you this as well. On one of the, and I don't, on one of the videos y'all have done in the past, I don't know if it was you or George that mentioned, they're talking about bringing the ISX on or tying it into other markets so that other, like, maybe Asia, I can't remember exactly, but we were going to get a wider audience at some point to invest in the ISX.
Right.
Is that,
We sell on our markets here. We trade Chinese stocks and stocks of other companies. So when Iraq becomes known to be international, as far as I know, everything has already been done. They are international, but everybody is still shying away from them. So once they're on an equal playing field, you're going to be able to invest, whether it's Schwab or an Ameritrade account. You should be able to buy and sell Iraqi stocks. I believe it's going to be on the NASDAQ market. But NASDAQ has been over there for years helping set up their systems. So it may be just as easy that you get uh, Joe Iraqi business trading system, and you can just open up with them and buy them directly there as well. So once they do that, you're introducing just hundreds of millions of new investors that are going to start
yeah.
buying in shares. And anytime you have an influx of buyers, it drives the price up.
And see, that's what I find is super exciting. I think that for everybody on the call who's got blogs, don't necessarily worry like, okay, is it going to happen tomorrow? Is it going to happen next week or the next month? Because it's going to happen. And then, like Andy's just talking about right here, we're so far ahead of the curve. We've got so many shares. We're already into the good companies. We are set up right now, and if that scenario happens, I mean, who knows where the value could go, and the value. I'm talking about the value of not only our shares but our blocks. Who knows where that could go? Because when those other people start pouring in, we're going to be sitting in a really good spot.
Oh, and that's why uh, I put a big chunk into the banks. Number one, because they are so cheap. But number two, if all of these Iraqis start using the banks and all of the new businesses, the banks are going to become more profitable as time goes on as well. So it's not
Yeah.
just what they are now; it's what they can be in the future. And I'm just hoping
Right.
that these, Bank of Baghdad is the biggest bank, I believe, in Iraq. How big can they be?
Right.
Uh, you've got banks here that spread the gamut on what they're worth, but it's based on the number of shares they have
Right.
outstanding. So I don't know how that's going to work out, but I don't
Well, when they
think
start giving
anything is going
out,
to work against us. I think everything is
right.
going to be for good.
Absolutely. They start giving out loans to large companies and larger businesses over there for projects inside Iraq. All that's going to drive their revenue up, and their stocks are going to are going to go up too. Yeah, I'm really excited about that. And I'm sure down the road several years there'll be tech stocks coming in there, and there'll be probably other stocks that are not there today that will be added, that will be something that we can maybe buy large shares of as we make, as you make decisions on what to do with Woolard. Are you planning on, and I'm kind of backtrack, I'm all over the place with questions,
Oh, you're
but
fine.
on other calls that you've had, y'all were talking about, and this may have just been with George's group, but you mentioned, let's say we're going to do a dividend of one of the stocks. Are you, I know there's fees and all that kind of stuff, but are you going to take are you going to take, what was it, 2% or 4% of whatever dividend we take and then reinvest that back in and then and then do a dividend? Or are you just going to do the dividend? Because I think it's kind of smart to do a small piece and reinvest, but was that just his group, or are you thinking about doing that too?
Yeah, that was his. I think that's all changed since he's scrapped that agreement and come out with a new one. So,
Oh,
uh,
okay.
yeah, I mean, part
Or
of me,
do we need to do that? I don't know.
yeah, but another part of me says give you your money and let you invest it however you want,
Right.
as an
That's
individual.
true.
So it's a tough one to figure out. The more I can give you, the better the payout to you, the more successful we have all been. And you may not want to reinvest. You may have enough in other things, or you may want to open up this business, that business, or help somebody start their business. I'm
That's a
the
good
one
point.
that decides how you should invest your money.
Right. And I guess our initial investment will still be in there and hopefully growing as the market grows. So the need to do that is probably not going to be there. So that's a good point.
Yeah.
I remember you saying that. I couldn't remember if that was his or us or how that was going to go. The other question, and you may have answered this many times, but are all the stocks that we're invested in dividend stocks, or do a payout yearly or quarterly, or just some of them, or where do we sit in that term on those terms?
The banks, Gulf Commercial did not pay out dividends last year. Al Mansour, we're actually still waiting for dividends on Al Mansour. Whatever we had, sometime in October would have 4% dividends coming. Some of them pay very low. They may pay this year and not next year. The only two that have been consistent was Asia Cell and Iraqi Beverage, and they've steadily paid
Okay.
out. Asia Cell has paid out 1 dinar per share the last 3 or 4 years in a row, and
Right.
Iraqi Beverage has paid out 15% for multiple years. So
What?
that's why I'm concentrating on those two and building those up, because I know that's where
Right.
our dividend prize is coming from.
Well, and that makes good sense. It sounds like from watching your other videos and talking to you a little bit that it sounds like the brokers give you pretty good advice. I mean, just like you said, was it today earlier that someone the broker said that one of the stocks might drop a little bit. Do you want to get out and get back in? And your reasoning was perfect. But the fact that they told you that it was going to go down and it did, I mean, it sounds like they're giving you really good information.
They are actually what it was is they wanted me to sell my Iraqi beverage because it had gone up so much, and they said because of the international
Right.
eyes on it drove the price up, and they felt it only temporary. But when I looked, we pay an average of 3.05 a share, and when I looked, it was 3.8, I think. To me, I thought, man, if it's kind of getting caught with your pants down, if I sell those, even though I buy Iraqi beverage or Asia sell with it, and the change happens, now I'm without Iraqi beverage, pays less
Right.
than Asian sell. And since we're
Right.
not for the short run, we're not in it for immediate gains. I chose to leave it as it was. And I just told him just
Well,
keep
yeah.
building on
That's
my
a,
that I have with you.
that's a good. I think that's a good. That's like on the gold miners, silver miner stocks that I'm in. I'm in that for the long term. So I don't really care, for example, the fact that gold and silver went down last week. I mean, I'm like, my stocks went down a little bit, but I don't care because I know eventually I'm in it for the long run that they're going to go up. So I understand that with Iraq, the beverage company, um, why you did that. But yeah, I mean, it's, probably us as a group, when this thing does turn, should start studying up on the companies over there. And, maybe we'll hear something that, well, I guess your brokers are pretty much going to tell you what to do and not to do. Do they let you buy options over there yet? Because if
Now
they
that
tell you something's going to go down.
no, and I actually early on I put in an order for this one stock, and they advised me against it because they felt that this stock was going to start sliding back. It was temporarily at a decent price, but it was they felt it was going to fall, so they advised me to not purchase. So whether it's suggesting a stock or suggesting not to buy a stock, they're they're watching everything that I'm doing, and they're definitely advising, and they have our interest at heart. They're telling me don't
Yeah,
buy this stock, which cuts into their commission because every time I buy one stock, they're making money. So for them to
right.
say, don't buy that stock, it's Gulf Commercial. Mr. Wasim is the uh, uh, he's a director. He's got a very high position inside of Gulf Commercial. And originally they told me not buy this stock. So that was
Wow.
shocking. He didn't want me to buy a stock in his own company.
Wow, yeah.
They since said that it was poised to do better now. So you're welcome to add if you want to. But that's to me that's integrity. He could say, yeah, buy
Absolutely.
it 'cause it's going to help me personally if you buy this stock,
Right.
and he
Yeah.
he suggested not. So that let me know that these guys are the real deal.
Well, I mean, it really sounds like it, and it makes me feel comfortable because, you never know. Let's say things are rocking and rolling, and it's 4 years from now, and, we're all making good money and everything. It makes me feel good that, let's say, let's say a company may be gonna, if they hear on the street that you should get out of one, I would think that based on what you're telling me here, that hopefully they'll tell us, hey, it's time to get out. You know what I
Yeah,
mean, and get into something else or whatever the situation is. So that's very comforting that they're that they're doing that. So those are my main questions, Andy. I mean, I can think of a more. We can talk about it another time if people want to, but those are the ones I was curious about on top of my head. Other than, I mean, there's some other ones like, um, on the screenshots that you share, the net asset value. Um, that's the actual value of all the stocks. The
yeah.
Okay.
On that little box at the very bottom, the total profit and loss is what it stands at the end of that trading day for all the stocks that I bought and the price that I bought them for, the net worth versus the net worth what they are at the end of that trading day. So like right now, mine shows 3,725,000 dinar. The balance is how much dinar I have in the trading account. That's not purchasing.
Traded yet.
Right. So
Okay.
55,000 is not that much. I They'll get another wire, $22,000 wire sending out tomorrow. They'll have it either Wednesday or Thursday, and they'll keep buying, but that will show up in that account Wednesday or Thursday. Unless that same day they purchase a lot more stocks in my purchase order. And then that net asset value is a combination of what's sitting in the account and what's in the stock market itself.
So one day when this thing all changes and the dinar revalues and and we're we're closed and everything's closed and it's just who's in, who's in, and we look at this, the net asset value, we should be able to take that number and divide it by the total amount of blocks and figure out what our value, what our personal values are by amount of blocks we have.
Right. And the day that there is a rate change, I will I will get not the sign up. I'll get all that off of the site just as soon as I can because I don't want anybody else signing up. I won't
Right.
accept new payments beyond that unless they were already in the mail. If I've got extra, like right now, I've got when I send the wire tomorrow, I'll still have a little over 20,000 over there. That's my personal funds, so that when you send me a wire, when you purchase blocks through Tel or however, uh, that send me you buy 10 blocks, that's just going to come off of that 20,000. But when I receive that payment, you're investing.
Right.
I'm not going to say nope, sorry, dinar can't go.
Yeah.
You're not going to do it. As long as I know the payment is on its way, I'm so there may be a tiny adjustment in the actual number of blocks, but on that day, I will give you a close to final block count. That could change by
Like,
five. It could even be 100.
right.
I wouldn't think any more than 100 in a day. So
Well, I appreciate you doing that because you don't really have to. I mean, you've got your hard-earned money kind of floating a little bit ahead of us, and that's I understand. I recognize what you're doing. I appreciate you doing that for those that are there's going to be someone caught in the middle of all this at the very
that's
end
what
of
I'm.
the day. You're right, and that's it's pretty neat you're doing that. So, well, where I guess my last question, where are we at block wise? It is over 8,000, right?
You know, that was another bad example. I think it just went up over eight. In that example I was giving, I said just under 8,200. I'm not sure where in my head I got that number from. It was at 79. It was just under 8,000 at that point. But
Yeah.
of course, I've sold blocks since then, so it's just over 8,000. I'm going to give you 100% accurate what I have exactly at this minute. Get down here. So 8,077. That's where we
Right.
at.
I kind of figured that's kind of where we were, and I know this when the dinar does change, revalue, whatever it does, I'd love to do another call with you and do some of those what ifs that you do. I really appreciate you doing like if it if it revalues at $1, here's what your blocks could be worth after everything. That made it helpful for me to understand. Um, the stuff that you post and everything and how many blocks that I have and what potentially my return could be
Yeah.
and so forth. But, I'd love to, maybe we can do another call at some point when it does or any time, but definitely when it revalues because it's fun to play with the numbers.
It is. And the numbers that I actually gave that day, I wish I'd have waited a day because I was going with the old amount of dinar. The old amount of Asia sale. I used 45 million. It was actually 47 million five. 2.5 million more shares, less 200 less blocks. So all the numbers on the low side.
Right. Well, I mean, I got quite a few blocks in it. Occasionally, it's funny. My wife will see me playing with my calculator. And I have to, since I do it on my iPhone, I have to turn it sideways because there's so many, there's so many shares and all of that. And she's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Nothing." But in my head, I'm just like, "Wow, this could be, really cool if it works out." Well, it's going to be cool no matter what. When this thing happens, I think, like you said, we're all going to be blessed. But I try not to do that very often, but occasionally I'm like, wow, do the video, and I'm like, oh, let's see here, it's, I don't know.
Of all the companies, I think we're underestimating Asia Cell. I think that stock
Right,
is just going to blow through the roof. Not $1,000 or anything, but I see it actually being
no,
a $8 to $10 stock right out of the gate. Uh,
right,
Comparing apples to apples, when you do that with a company in Kuwait, a similar phone company, and you do all the correct figuring based on the number of shares they have, it came out that uh, Asia Cell today would be valued a little over $8 at a dollar for dollar rate.
right.
So if it's
I think that's like
about
at a
$2,
dollar for dollar rate. Wow,
yeah.
wow.
So
And that'll be huge when it does revalue because that'll be a higher number than that.
oh yeah,
Yeah, it'd be a big number. Wow. Well, the way I look at that is, if we may have some losers, right? Even though we have a lot of shares and stocks, we may have some losers. And if we have one big winner, then that'll replace three or four losers. If it's a big one, it could, is Asia Cell the only top company like that, cell phone company over there, or is it it's just the big dog among
I'm
little dogs?
I'm not sure if they're number one or number two. There's another company over there, but I'm not sure that it's even traded. Uh, they have, I think there are three cell phone providers in Iraq. And they're either first or second. I had heard something about them taking the lead. I don't want to make that claim because I'm not 100% certain, but they may be the biggest. No, they're the ones that are implementing the 4G, right?
4G,
Yeah.
right?
So,
Wow.
yeah, they're what 15 years behind us in technology.
Yeah,
I don't know how long ago we went from 3G to 4G, and now we're into 5G.
right. Well, I think the banks are doing the same thing. I think before the banks were, I think it was like, you know, it's almost like, hey, you make a deposit and they turn the abacus, and now it's actually internet, So I think that was probably another reason people were investing in the banks. But it sounds to me like that they're making all the right steps to get these companies that are at least on the stock market up to speed with reality. Because once you go big time, you can't be using the abacus to count your deposits and stuff. You gotta really report things the correct way, and it sounds like that's where they're headed. So it's all
And
really excited. I'm excited about it.
I have a lot of people asking, and it comes up pretty regularly about gold stocks, gold company stocks, or oil company stocks. Neither one are traded on the Iraq Stock Exchange now. Doesn't mean it can't
Right.
happen in the future. I'll be hard pressed not to get some of either. So we may sell the bank stocks and put that into an oil stock or something. So, and that was the reason I bought those because they're poised to possibly do well under this reconstruction era that they're going through. If not, if dollar for dollar it is the same and they increase by just a fraction, we could draw 100 million at a time and divvy that up between the 8 to 10,000 whatever. It
I
should
mean,
be payday. If we
yeah.
do that once every 6 months or even once a year, we're going to have 1.5 billion by the time we're done. 500 million in each one. Man, that's a lot of extra. Take that out and make the Asia sell dividend that much bigger a payday. You would.
Absolutely. I mean, right. Yeah. Yeah. No, you just that would be awesome. But you did remind me of another question. Why don't we have any oil stocks? Do they not, are they not on the market, or is it just
Right.
not recommended?
It's all government controlled, and so they don't. Right now, there are no companies on the Iraqi Stock Exchange. I mean, you got
Wow.
companies over there. You got Exxon. You got all the major
Yeah,
oil
yeah.
companies over there, but they're traded here. They're not in the
I
Iraqi
see.
stock.
Yeah, I was curious about why that was, when that makes sense or not on there. But yeah, I'm with you too. If they decide to let people mine for gold over there, if it really is,
Yeah.
you know, on just on the surface, I mean, that could be, they get the right team involved over there, that could be huge.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, because it won't take near the equipment and near the resources, from what I'm understanding, for them to mine over there compared to mining in
Right.
this country.
You know, it would be cool if they decide to do that, if they, you know, a lot of times, and I've never done this, but I know that you can, like, if they're gonna allow that, and you know who's gonna, who's gonna, wants to go in and mine, you can help fund that. And in funding that, they'll give you actual, like, pre-stock shares. And
Right.
then, you know, then when it does go on the market, you know, you can triple or quadruple your investment because you got in early on the stock, which I'm, you know, hopefully maybe that scenario may never come up, but it would be kind of cool if we could get in on a early, because there'll be IPOs, I'm sure, on the ISX at some point, you know.
Yeah, and our
Anyways, that's
yeah, I think our broker would let us know. You definitely want
right.
to be in on this. So
Well,
I
cool.
would
Well,
as
Andy,
fast as I could.
right. I didn't get to take my Sunday nap today because we did this, so we probably.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's all right. Hey, I was gonna say this too. I was telling my wife before I was coming over here. I was like, man, they did the trust call, and you know, apparently I said y'all, right? And he pointed that out in my and I was like, oh, my Texas accent. But then later on in the video, you said y'all, and I was like, all right, I don't feel that bad anymore.
I always say it. Yeah, I'm
I
not
did too.
a professional speaker by any stretch. So
Me either. Me either. I hope whatever I sound like later isn't too terrible Texan. But anyways, I
yeah,
got a kick out of that when he said that.
I didn't even realize I did it. I didn't realize until I started doing these videos. I say so much or so. So
Right.
I'm trying to correct a little bit of it as I go.
Well, like I've said before, I have a face radio, and I definitely don't have the speaking voice for all this. But it was. I enjoyed talking to you today, and let's do it again sometime. And thanks for all that you're doing for the group. And you know, I really think the future's bright. Whether it happens in the next 90 days or whenever this thing does happen, it's going to happen. So it's going to be a fun ride when all this stuff does pop. So
It is.
I
I
appreciate
appreciate
it.
I appreciate you giving up your Sunday. Thank you.
That's all right.
We bounced this off each other a couple of times, and I appreciate you willing to come on here and ask questions. None of it was rehearsed. I said, hey, let's just call and let's just start talking and see where it goes. So
Yeah.
hopefully other investors will get something out of this. It'll help clarify some things for them if they've been wondering. That's kind of what I wanted to do it for, was
Yeah. Yeah.
to help other investors. And a lot of people are just going to sit back and watch, and they're never going to ask, but they may wonder, but they're just not going to get involved. And they're not going to ask. They've got their money in it. Let's see what I get out of it. And if I can make them feel a little better about it, that's a plus.
Right.
I think we're headed in a great direction. You know, like you said, we don't know when it's going to happen, but I feel with everything I got that it's going to happen.
Yeah.
There's no question of that in my mind.
Me either. It feels soon, but if it doesn't happen soon, I'm not going to be upset because I think it is going to, I know it's going to happen. I don't even think or feel, I know it's going to happen at some point, unless there's another war. Other than that, which I don't think there's going to be, I feel like it's going to happen pretty soon, but, I'm trying to be cautious and, not just by saying that because I get too excited about it if I think it's going to happen tomorrow. So I
Yeah,
have to tone it down for myself and say, hey, it may not happen until whenever it happens, it happens, but we're going to be in a good spot when it does. So,
absolutely. All right,
let's
Andrew.
do it again.
Absolutely. I enjoyed it. Thank you so very
Me
much.
too.
All right.
Thank you.
Take
Have a
care.
good one.
All right.